Today's video is sponsored by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Along with our friends at Docking Bay 94, located in Boca Raton, Florida. Check us out on comicsandgames.com. And lastly, Ian's Display Accessories, the best figure stands for iconic Kenner Star Wars and Hasbro G.I. Joe, as well as modern Black Series and G.I. Joe Classifieds. Starring me, Shabu Are You, from Codename New to Vero 2. Hey, welcome everybody. We are continuing with playing catch up, looking at issue number 277. Again, after our epic 10-issue story, Snake Hunt, Larry Hama is following up with Untold Tales, a collection of one-off missions that were being conducted while the main story of Raha was going on. So for issue 277, we go back to issue number 200, which I covered in an earlier episode. A quick recap. During issue 200, Cobra had successfully infiltrated and occupied the pit for a brief time. After sending G.I. Joe on all these bogus missions just to get them out of the pit and leave minimum security, upon realizing that they were victims of this diversion, Hawk sent Scarlet, Falcon, and Snake Eyes back into the pit to gather intel on what Cobra was doing. The team was so successful that they managed to chase the snakes away. We did not see in 200 is Law and Order. So in issue 277, it's kind of cool to revisit this issue and see what was going off panel. Before we dive in, this issue is extra special as it features Law and Order. As many of us that serve know the importance and above all the bond a military dog has with its handler. I can add that these dogs are heroes. They not only provide safety, but a little bit of home. Dogs do not see color, religions, or creed. My goal was to be a handler. It was my dream, but Uncle Sam needed me in counterintelligence. Still, I would try to be around the dogs during my downtime as much as possible, and let's not forget the sacrifices these animals have made for all of us. As always, we begin with the cover variants. Brian Scherer is up for the arts and gives us cover A, but check out John Royal, not only for cover RI, but the two Black Flag exclusives. They are both amazing and kind of pricey at $25 a pop. So as I mentioned, all of this is taking place off panel during issue 200. We have Law & Order on the hunt for any Cobra stragglers. They stumble on a lot of Cobra gear left behind in haste. Scherer does a good job illustrating the many faces of Order, from playful pup to serious guard dog. Just make a note of that. Suddenly, Order's disposition changes as he catches something in the air. A wolf emerges from the shadow. Can it be? Just like typical dogs, there is that moment of tension, but as soon as they sniff each other, it's like, buddy! Yup, the wolf is none other than Timber. I have been waiting so long for a Timber and Order friendship scene, so this is really awesome. I could not help but smile upon seeing this. Shortly afterwards, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Falcon also emerge. Remember, they are the main focal point in issue 200. They exchange pleasantries and becoming familiar with what's going on before going their own separate ways, each carrying out their own assignment. Law reminds them to keep each other posted via the command net whenever they unearth any more explosives. As Law and Order continue their patrol, they stumble onto another collection of Cobra gear. Law brings a helmet closer for Order to catch the scent, and he begins darting in a particular direction. He leads Law to a grate that has been moved aside. This grate leads to a utility space between two floors, a perfect spot to plant something dangerous. So in the crate they both go. These next panels are extra cool as Law refers to his real name, Kirk Bazigian, which hardcore G.I. Joe fans know is a former VP of Boys Toys for Hasbro, and whom the face sculpt of Law is based on, which I like to point out is not the name used on the 86 file card. Christopher Laving was the name used, so it's cool to see the proper update for the character. Law and Order come up to a huge ventilation fan, but they notice that the ducts that feed go all the way to the surface. Using the "if I was a bad guy, what would I do" tactic, Law realized wherever this duct begins is a prime spot for airborne chemical attack. So he continues on searching the area to find any cobras that would do this. Law's hunch was correct, for as soon as they turn the corner, he stumbles upon Knight, Toxo, and Techno Vipers in the midst of installing VX-21 nerve gas. Too deep to call it in to alert the other Joes, it's up to Law and Order to put a stop to this. Lives are at stake, and they know it. But before they can get a jump on the Cobras, a Night Viper is able to spot them using his night vision intensifier. Law takes a minute to assess the situation and realizes at this point he has to make a solo charge towards oncoming fire. That is the only way he has a chance to stop this. A Night Viper and Toxo Viper are struck, but so is Law as he takes shots to his shoulder and thigh. Down, the other Night Viper goes in to finish him off when Order comes to his pal's defense. I cannot overemphasize what level of just disregard for own safety and how these working dogs just jump in to save lives, and they have no care for their own personal well-being, and they don't hesitate. And that's something to be marveled at and valued and just appreciated, that what these working dogs are capable of doing. After a while, the other Night Viper is able to subdue Order by hitting him with the butt of his rifle and tosses in a frag just to end both of their pain and suffering. Continuing with his bravery, Order smells the explosive and quickly drags Law away from the explosion. Law finally comes to, realizing that he needs to call the other Joes and let them know, but only to discover that his radio has also been damaged in the explosion. He applies some on-the-spot medical attention to his wounds and realizes that the only way is for him and Order to press on and stop these guys in their tracks now. They can't rely on backup. They have to do it themselves. With the odds stacked against them, they press on. Law's sidearm is all that he has left, as both his shotgun and flashlight were also damaged in the explosion. He isn't doing so good either, and in no condition to take on the remaining Toxo, Techno, and Lone Night Viper remaining. He instructs Order to go on and bring back Snake Eyes and the others. But as soon as Order gets underway, Law is in such great pain that he drops his sidearm. The clang alerts the Night Viper, who returns fire. With the Night Viper charging to end this, Law summons the strength to pick up his piece and stop the Night Viper in his tracks, only to see the Toxo Viper on top of him and about to deal a killer blow. Suddenly, Order leaps to defend his pal. The Techno Viper takes a wrench to poor Order. Pissing off Law, he yells back, "Don't you dare touch my dog," and returns fire, shooting the Techno Viper right in the chest. The Toxo Viper utters the infamous, "If I'm going down, I'm taking everybody with me," and takes a shot at the detonator, releasing the toxic gas into the air. And just then, we see as the gas is filling up the room, we see a struggle going on between the Toxo Viper and Law. And what comes out and what emerges is that we see Law wearing the Toxo Viper's helmet and puts on the Techno Viper's helmet on Order. So he had the foresight to, subdue him and rip that thing off, put it on his head and Order's head, and carries them out to safety, turning on the ventilation just in time to get all that toxic gas out and kicked out of the pit, saving all of these lives. But the sad thing is, at this point, we don't know if Order has made it. He is not responding whatsoever. And you see in a very touching moment, Law saying goodbye to his old pal. But suddenly, he gets the very famous lick and letting his pal, his owner, his everything know that he is okay. And that ends this emotionally awesome issue. I totally loved it. Wow, what a great job, and just a special treat for Larry Hama to give us these side issues after an epic 10-issue story arcs. So I hope you subscribe and continue joining us for the comic recaps. This is GIJoe signing off.